Hello, everybody, and welcome to Everything But the Cats, where we are still celebrating Spooky Month. And we are legally obligated not to talk about the cats. My name's Gage,
DJ.
and what are we talking about today, DJ?
All right. Growing up, my mom liked to tell scary stories. She was just kind of obsessed with spooky stuff. I feel like she was into true crime, not before it was cool. Like it's always been like like cool for people that look like us, right? Like we've always been into the subject. And yeah, so my mom's always been into it. She loved telling scary stories. She loved I'm talking past tense. She's alive. My dad is dead though. But my mom loved, like, growing up. She while we were my sister and I were growing up, she would tell us scary stories, and a lot of them weren't real. They were just kind of urban legends, the classic, like, man escapes from insane asylum. He has a hook for a hand. They drove home and there was a hook in the door. Like, she loved those things, those classic stories. But she had a few stories that she would tell that she, like, always said were real. And so I'm looking to share just a couple of those stories today. And then one of them has sort of like true crime implications. So we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into that one to see if we can figure out what actually went on in that story that my mom shared growing
Man,
up.
taking it all the way back to our first two episodes.
Yeah, welcome back. This is going to be better this time, y'all.
Which, by the way, those are going to be re uploaded on YouTube here before too long, along with all the other old ones. I'm only doing one a week. I do not have the time to do them all at once. But yeah,
Gage is a busy man,
you guys will get
y'all.
them.
Gage, why are you going through this work to re-upload all of our all of our old content?
I'm going through this work because it's kind of fun for me first, but
Mhm.
also I want to be able to share some of our older episodes, which are a lot of fun. And we did have a lot of really fun episodes. I think that are audio only. We want to be able to share those with the people who are just following us on YouTube. Also, I think it'll be really cool to add a video element to those episodes, and it'll allow me to learn more about editing as we go. Which, as you've seen, I need the education, so it'll be good.
Gage is getting better all the time, and I gave him a softball, just a very gentle pitch, so he could say this because he loves you guys. Uh, and I hope you heard that in the subtext of what he was saying. The Gage loves you guys.
Yeah, it
Uh,
definitely is in the subtext there.
yes,
Actually, before we do dive
done.
into the end of the subjects
Oh,
today,
good call.
I do want to shout out one more time, and I'll probably do it many other times. Our good friends over at Orange Cat Always. I this past week, which I am recording this a few days before it comes out for the first time in a long time, but couple days ago, I did receive this in the mail. It is a cat head shaped scratch board, and it also came with a little bit of catnip. And so this is something I'm really excited to use. I know my cat actually is more excited to use it than I am, and she does love this kind of stuff. So we'll probably end up posting on our social media a video of Lola playing with this later. I'm going to do my best to learn how to censor her face by that point. But
Good luck, dude.
yeah. So Orange Cat Always, they are a friend of the podcast at this point, and they are our partner in this. So if you have cats and if you would like to get anything for them, or if you're just a person who likes cat related things, they even have something that's called the Cat Lovers Hoodie. It's I actually might get it. It's this hoodie that instead of having a pocket in the front has a pouch that you can set your cat in, you can set your dog in, you could set your child in. I don't care, and the strings that go around the hood itself have little balls on the end so that whatever's in your pouch can play with it. And then the hood has ears on it, so that would actually be a really funny gift, or a really fun gift for anybody who does enjoy their cats, or who just wants to look like a cat. I don't know. But if you would like to go ahead and check out Orange Cat Always, go to their website, at www.orangecatalways.com/everythingbutthecats. I know it's a little long, but if you go to that link and use our code everythingbutthecats when you're checking out, you get a 10% discount, and you also help the podcast out a little bit. I will also say you can officially go to www.everythingbutthecats.com/we sold out, and it will take you to the same location.
You do still have to use the code.
Yes, you do still have to use the
Uh,
code,
but yeah.
but yeah, you'll get 10% off your whole order. It's not just on one item, and they always have good sales going on there anyways. So check them out. They're a small business based out of Canada. They're pretty cool. So, and they want to work with us. They found us. I cannot stress enough. This cat toy company found a podcast called Everything But the Cats and decided they wanted to work with us. Yeah, so we're excited
Yes.
to sell out.
Yeah. No, it's a super great opportunity. We're stoked. We really appreciate them, and we really appreciate you guys. If you love your cats, you'll go to the site.
Yeah, DJ, let's go ahead and talk about some scary stories.
Talk about my mom. Yeah, I had this idea, and I didn't really sit to think through like every story. I'm gonna try to do three. I'm gonna try to land on three. I might do a couple sub stories along the way.
Okay.
And tell you what, to prime us for the true crime story later on, I'll go ahead and tell a semi true crime story now. So my mom, she grew up in a lot of different places. Her mom and dad got divorced when my mom was pretty young, maybe 10. And so my mom spent a lot of time living with her dad at like Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri, spent time living with her dad in Chicago, spent time living with my grandma in like the Fort Scott area, not necessarily Fort Scott, but around there. Just kind of moved around a lot. But while she was living in Chicago, where my grandpa still lives, uh, there was this guy. Maybe you've heard of him, called John Wayne Gacy. And for some context, for anyone who doesn't know, he was this guy that starred in a bunch of westerns. And no, I'm kidding. He was a clown that would like lure men and boys and kill them and eat them or whatever. I don't know if he ate them. I don't really
No,
know the story too well.
he buried them in the crawl space under his house.
That's what he would do. And so mom is like hearing the news about like there are news stories out about this clown that maybe is abducting people. Again, this is all her words, and I believe them as much as I believe them, and I implore you to do the same. Uh, so she's like seeing news, hearing news about like this clown that's going around and like abducting people. And so one day she's walking home from school and she's walking along and she notices a van kind of pulling behind her slowly. And she doesn't really pay attention to it, but then she kind of turns the corner and it turns the corner and still it's like right there, kind of right behind her. And so she turns and looks and there's a clown driving this van. Sorry, she hadn't seen the news stories yet. The news stories are later. I ruined the story already. Anyways, she turns and looks, and there's a clown driving this van, and she is. I mean, I don't think clowns are necessarily like associated with creepiness yet. Like they probably always have been on account of what they are. But like we haven't had the 2016 like killer clown thing yet. That was due to come in many years. So there's a clown driving the van, and she everywhere she goes, he's just kind of following along behind her slowly. And then eventually she decides that she's gonna walk through like just kind of a bad neighborhood. What's known as bad neighborhood. She didn't say the name of the neighborhood, but like it's on her way home. She can like keep going straight, or she can like go down the alleyway with the drug heads or whatever. I don't know.
How old was she?
Probably like 15, if I had to guess.
In Chicago?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. maybe younger. I don't know. But she decides she's going to do that. And then so she does that. The people that are outside, out and about, that's whatever. They don't really pay attention to her, but the van drives away, and that's that. And then a few weeks later, they start seeing news stories about John Wayne Gacy, who would was a clown who killed people. And so she like then would tell the story, like, man, she's lucky to be alive because he was after her, he was trying to get her. I think there is some so I'm not attacking the credibility. I am suggesting that based on what I know of John Wayne Gacy's target audience, that maybe she was walking with a boy. Like that's that's all I can think of. And every story I tell, I'm not attacking. If I say anything that sounds critical, my mom might listen to this, and even if she wasn't, I'm not attacking the credibility or whether or not it actually happened. I'm just offering thoughts that I have about it. So just so that's out there, I love you, Mom. I believe you. What were you gonna say, Gage?
Oh, I was just going to say, fun fact about John Wayne Gacy. So I don't remember which way it goes, but it was either that he was put to death by the death penalty on the same day that Jeffrey Dahmer was baptized, or it was vice versa. But I'm almost certain that the day Jeffrey Dahmer was baptized was the same day that John Wayne Gacy was put to death.
Man,
So I don't know if that holds a lot of significance. I'm just
no.
pretty certain that that was the same day. But yeah, so that's just an interesting little thing. Another thing, John Wayne Gacy, when I was in middle school, around the time that paranormal activity movies were really popular,
Mm-hmm.
maybe early high school, they made one about John Wayne Gacy's house. It was called 8213 Gacy House. And I had no idea
Really?
what it was about, but my mom was like, hey, we should watch this. And so we watched it. And it was essentially paranormal activity, but it was a group of ghost hunting people, a group of ghost hunters, if you will, who decided to go into John Wayne Gacy's house and do the whole ghost hunting thing. And they all died
Classic.
somewhat gruesomely, and it was kind of interesting because they were all there were women in the group, and they were like, "Oh, you'll probably be fine," and they still got
Oof.
shreked. Uh, we watched a lot of like ghost movies there for about a year or two, and I was always terrified, but for some reason I still sat through them. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a while since I've watched like just a good like paranormal activity, and like I'm married to a woman who will not, and I have a kid now, and will not
Mm-hmm.
with him. So it'll be a little while, but let's see. I have a theory. If it was John Wayne Gacy chasing my mom, Gage, how much have you seen all the Twilight movies?
No.
Okay, so in the last one, except there might be like a like prequel or something like that, but in the like timeline final book, Bella and Edward, I've not watched them all. I think my mom has and told me. This isn't one of our true scary stories. This is related to this one. But anyways, in the final one, sorry for spoilers. It's been like 10 years, more than 10 years probably. In the last one, Bella finally decides, I'm sick of Jacob. Give me Edward. And so they have a baby together. Then Jacob, who's the werewolf guy, right? Major spoiler there, realizes that his love that he had for Bella all along was not actually love for Bella. It was love for Bella's unborn child. And then they run off and get married or whatever when she turns 6. I do not know what actually happens. It's weird. Really weird. Anyways, my theory is that John Wayne Gacy knew that somewhere tucked away inside my mom were the genetic makings of me. And he was hooked. That's the theory.
So what's weirder, that Jacob, who is canonically like 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there, imprints on an infant,
Yeah.
or Edward, who is canonically over 100, is in a relationship with a 15-year-old?
I don't think either of those things are legal,
They're both
to be clear.
weird
Like,
and shouldn't be celebrated. It's all toxic. There you go. You know what's really funny about Twilight, though? My dad,
no way.
he told me one time, he was like, yeah, so I was sitting down to watch a movie, and I really didn't know what it was, but I got about three-quarters of the way through before I realized it was Twilight.
That's so funny. Did he finish it?
Yeah, he finished it, and he was like, it wasn't bad.
Did he watch the series?
No, just the first one. But
Coward.
still, it's really, really. That was like recent, though. Like, that was within the last year,
Yeah. I mean, I would say like
which is so funny to me.
I've watched a couple of them, and I would say that I feel like the attitude I have while watching it is kind of like when my sister would be watching Hannah Montana or like Jersey Shore,
Mm.
and I'd be like, "This show's stupid. This sucks." And then I realize that I've been standing in her doorway for 3 hours, like watching the show,
I
and I think I've got a lot of that energy when it comes to Twilight. I'm like, this sucks. This is stupid. And then I'm like, oh, I watched a whole movie. Cool.
if you
Sorry if
if you
I.
finished Twilight, explain how wrong we were
Oh yeah,
describing it
please do.
in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. Also, I'm really sorry if I like reopen any old wounds from like middle school. I'm sorry. Anyways, let's talk more about my mom.
Let's talk about your mom.
Great.
Uh,
Yeah, so that's just a little kind of taste of a story. I'll give you options. So I'm gonna do three more stories,
okay,
and one of them. Oh no, I've got like four I want to do. Sorry, we're doing four more stories. This is gonna be a long one, boys
let
and
go.
girls. Okay, so I'll give you three options because the fourth one is the true crime one, which we're gonna have to do fast if I'm doing three other stories. So I'll give you options.
Okay,
One is the dream. Two, we'll call it the grabby hand.
okay,
Real spooky one, that one. And then three, we'll call it the other hand.
okay. Let's go. I want to start with the other hand.
Love it. Okay, so the other hand. My mom was living in uh, or around Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri, and actually, so if you've seen Ozark, there's a resort in it called the Blue Cat Lodge, I think, and it's based off of a resort that used to be owned by my family.
The blue what?
You're so right. The Blue Bleep Lodge. But it's based on a resort that used to be owned by my family. By my family, I mean like my mom's uncle. So it's called the Alhana Resort. It's in Missouri, obviously, on the Lake of the Ozarks. And my mom's uncle kind of built it from the ground up. He bought it from a couple named Al and Hana. That's how it got the name, with the condition that he couldn't change the name. And so from there, built it up, built or bought property around it, built onto the property, and then just recently, his daughter sold it for like millions of dollars. And yeah, so anyways, that's my mom was growing up while her uncle Schaefer was doing that. Her dad was helping, I assume helping. They lived at Lake of the Ozarks, and Lake of the Ozarks is in a semi like it. They're called the Ozark Mountains. Generous, like we.
It's semi-mountainous.
It is semi mountainous
It's
if
like
you're being kind
foothills.
to it.
It's foothills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but don't say that around the natives. They'll get you.
It's also to be like yes, it's not really like mountains like the Rocky Mountains or something, but it's still a gorgeous part of the country.
Sure.
Like it's
Yeah,
one of the most beautiful places I've been to.
I think that's generous too. It is very pretty though,
I said
or
one
maybe
of.
you
How many
haven't broadened
places have
your
I been
horizons
to?
very well. What?
I said it's one of. How many places have I been to?
True. No. So, anyways, Lake of the Ozarks. It's pretty mountainous, and so when you live in mountainous, hilly areas, there are a lot of places like a lot of really curvy roads or roads that like a lot of places if you're driving on a relatively flat area, there are multiple ways that you can get to a single destination. You can turn right and then turn left, or drive straight and then turn right. Like there are options. In more mountainous areas, a lot of times there aren't a lot of options. um, especially when you're like going to someone's house or something that's a bit more remote, because like it's just this is the road that goes along this side of the mountain, and like this the one you're gonna take in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, lots of hilly, curvy roads. And so one day, she and my Aunt Holly didn't live there. She lived with my grandma, but she's visiting. I think it was my Aunt Holly. Could have been someone else. But they're riding bikes. And so there's this hill that they would go down, and they go down this hill, uh, and they, climb back up the hill, go down the hill. Classic kid fun, going down the big hill. Excuse me, catching speed, having a good time when Holly, my aunt, goes down before my mom, and then as my mom's coming down, she essentially sees Holly like running away screaming. And so she is trying to figure out what that was. Like, she's telling Holly to come back. Holly's not listening. And so she gets down to the bottom of the hill, kind of puts her bike down on its side, and she goes and looks. And they're like right up in front of this house. And so she goes and looks and tries to see what scared my Aunt Holly. And she turns around the corner, and at the edge of the house, she sees a disembodied hand. I don't know the context of disembodied, if it's just like is there blood oozing out of it, or is it just like floating?
It's
I
like
don't know.
it's like the hand from the Addams Family. It's just
But
floating
in the
there.
air.
Yeah, just floating there. Like,
Yeah. But like beckoning. Just a very slow, and she ran away screaming. Uh
okay.
that's that story. That's the story of the other hand.
I feel like running away screaming is the appropriate response to a disembodied hand beckoning you to come toward
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, whatever like weird spiritual being, or like say it wasn't disembodied, she just didn't see it. Like whatever predator is saying like get over here. Like bro,
They're
you got to pick up like the tactics. You were doomed from the start.
Yeah. Like next thing you know, they're gonna take their mask off and breathe fire. It's a Scorpion reference. The
Mm,
get over here guy from Mortal
love
Kombat.
that.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah, no, hey weird spiritual being, if you're still out there, don't be. Stop it.
Get some help.
In the name of Jesus.
I'm not
I think
laughing at the
that's
name of Jesus, but
no.
you know.
Yeah. No. So yeah, so that's the story of the other hand. Not a lot of closure there. She might have grabbed her bike on the way up. I don't know, but she went away screaming and fled the scene. So
I feel like places like lakes, especially man-made lakes, if there are going to be places that have a lot of spiritual, spiritual presences and stuff going on around them, it would be something man-made, I
mm,
would imagine, most of the time. Unless you're talking about the Valley of Headless Men, but that's for another day.
deal.
It's such a cool story. Well, not really, but it's terrifying, but kind of cool.
Anyways, back to my mother. What story would you like to hear next, Gage?
I'm kind of liking this hand theme, so let's go with the grabby hand.
Let's go with the grabby hand. My mom was living with her dad still. She spent most of her childhood living with her dad, and uh, they had just moved. And I don't know where they lived, where this was, but they had just moved. And I'm going to tell you the story. This is one of the few stories that, like, every once in a while, I still get the heebie-jeebies about this one. So I'll try to do it justice. I probably won't, but like every once in a while, I'm walking along and I'm a little worried about the grabby hand. So
Okay.
just for some context there. But tell you what, I'm not even gonna try to be funny. I feel like I try to be funny a lot. We're gonna tell this like I mean it.
Okay.
They had just moved into a new house, and that was that. Maybe they had moved in a couple days ago, something like that. And I can't remember. So my mom, she's probably 12, 13. I don't know. And one night, her parents are in bed, and she goes to go to bed, or she's in bed. She steps out to get a drink or use the bathroom or something. Gets her drink, uses the bathroom, whatever. She gets a drink, we'll say, and makes her way back to her bed. And as she's like getting ready to crawl into the bed, all of a sudden a hand reaches out from the bed and grabs her foot. And she like pulls really hard and manages to like break free from it, and then just like lays there in her bed terrified. And so she probably doesn't sleep very much, but she just got a drink, and so before too long she needs to use the bathroom. And so she gets up, gets out of bed, and as she gets out of bed, the hand reaches out and grabs her ankle again. And so she fights, manages to break free, and goes and gets her dad and like tells him that this has been happening because it's terrifying. And so he comes, he takes a look, grabs a flashlight, looks under the bed. There's nothing there. Which honestly, I don't know what's creepier, right? Like there's nothing there, or there's something there. There's nothing there though. So that happens. She hasn't used the bathroom yet. So he goes back to bed, gets onto her for waking him up in the middle of the night for her imagination or whatever. She uses the bathroom and then goes back to bed. And she decides this time she's just going to take a running jump. And so she backs up, takes a running jump, jumps onto the bed, and no hand gets her, nothing at all. But then, just very quietly from under the bed, she hears a low growl. And that's the story of the grabby hand.
Dogs can grab your ankle too.
That's so good.
Oh, the
That's
whole
really
time
funny.
I'm thinking if humans can lick too, and that's ooh. See, that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that gets me is like something actually being under your bed.
Uh huh.
Because and that's the same thing that's gotten us since we were little, like, the monster under your bed, but when there's actually a monster under your bed, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
No. Every once in a while, like I'm a 28-year-old man. I have never been grabbed by a grabby hand from underneath the bed. And every once in a while, I'm like getting to bed after Angela, and I'm just like, uh, uh, like worried about the grabby hand coming to get me.
Was
She's
anybody
never called it that, by the way.
what did she call it?
She didn't have a nickname for it.
Oh.
Like, yeah, it's not like a family lore. It's just like this one story.
Did
Uh,
anybody in your mom's family like practice Satanism or something?
so we actually, I'm not going to get too far into it, but there. So no is probably the short answer, I would guess. But there were like there are stories of them growing up like playing with Ouija
Hmm.
boards, or like a friend of hers claimed to be like, I wasn't going to tell this one, and I'll do it really quickly, but like a friend of hers claimed to be a Satanist, and then like one night they were like sitting in his living room, and all of a sudden there were like glowing eyes like watching them. uh so like, yes, but no, but yes, like no one in her family, but she had friends.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
So
I'm kind of
yeah.
glad that like Ouija boards skipped a generation
Hmm.
because my mom's generation played with them and I feel like the generation after ours plays with them. But I didn't know anybody who used a Luigi board. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories of people like the generation before us, or technically a little more than the generation before us, but like our parents' generation, playing
Yeah.
with Ouija boards and stuff like that. And then, seriously, I don't think anybody I knew did. Now,
Hmm.
given most of my friends, by the time we would have done stuff like that, we're all youth group kids.
Yeah, we were all like pretty serious Christians.
Yeah, so it wasn't something that we sought out or wanted to do.
Yeah.
But even the kids that weren't, like, I never heard stories about them doing Ouija boards or anything.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of stories. Not a single one of them included a Ouija board. But
Oof.
my my mom, just briefly to tell a story about my mom,
Yeah.
she was with a group of friends and they used a Ouija board one time. And she asked it a pretty personal question about her sister. And obviously, you know how Ouija boards work. They could or could not, depending on who's playing and whatever. But she
Yeah.
asked a personal question about her sister. And it like wrote "shut up" is what it wrote, and so that was, yeah, that scared her.
Is her
And
sister there?
no, no,
Can you imagine?
no, she's a few years older than my mom, so
Okay.
they really didn't. I say a few, probably about the same age difference as Brittany and me.
Okay.
So they really didn't have the same circles of friends.
That's fair. My so I like I'm pretty sure my mom's only like real Ouija board story is that some friends like asked who my mom would end up with, and it spelled out a name that was not David, which is my father's name, or Paul, which is the man she's married to's name. So who knows? But anyways, my grandma has a story where like she and her friends are playing and they're seancing or whatever. And
Communing with the damned.
yeah, as girls do. Um, and it spells out something like bell ring Mary hair white or something like that. And I'm like, what the F does that mean? And my grandma's friend Mary is sitting there like, what? And then
And
all of
then
a
the
sudden,
doorbell rang.
no, so this is how the story goes. The phone rang in the basement, but
Oh,
guess what? There is no phone in the basement. Again, I'm not. It sounds like I'm attacking credibility. I'm not attacking credibility. I'm being funny. There's no phone in the basement. And then guess what the heck happened to Mary's hair?
it turned white eventually. I don't know.
I so based on the story, it sounds like it turned white in the moment, and then over time, like turned back to normal.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's freaky.
yeah. So again, not attacking credibility, but wild story
I will
for
say,
sure.
my hair in a few spots turned white before it fell out, and that all happened very fast. So it can happen.
The board spelled out Mary alopecia. And
Yep.
they're like, what does that second word even mean? Because it's
Well,
like the
no, go ahead.
60s.
Anywho, creepy
Yeah.
stories. That one was
You ready
really
to hear about
creepy,
the
though.
dream?
Yeah, let's talk about the dream.
Okay. So it's actually there's kind of some context. It's not super creepy. So one day, my mom is, again, this isn't super creepy. It's a little weird, but not super creepy. Maybe a little creepy, but not super creepy. My mom has been sick for a few days, just not feeling well. And so she goes to bed that night, just trying to get some rest, get feeling better. And next thing she knows, she's like floating up above the house, but she can see into the house. She can see all the people sleeping in there, and essentially, like, is in heaven. Like, realizes she's in heaven, and is given the choice. Like, all right, like, right now you can choose. Like, do you want to come with me, or do you want to go back? And she decides to go back, wakes up immediately, feeling completely better. Whatever sickness she had, totally gone. Which, cool story. I'd have to think on my theology of heaven to think how I feel about that or whatever. But it's great. It's fine. I'd be curious to know more details about like the heaven she visited, um, and just see, yeah, what that was like. I again, I'm not casting doubt at the credibility. Just curious. So that's dream number one. Sorry, go
Okay.
on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I in Revelation, the class that we took, or that yeah that we took, I one time stayed after to talk to Shane about the thing that happened to me when I was in the elevator, which we've talked
Yeah,
about here before.
yeah.
But one of the things that he said was that it was something along the lines of, just because it doesn't logically make sense doesn't inherently make it not a real experience that God gave you necessarily. He was like,
Mm.
unless it's blatantly, contradicting scripture, it could be that he's trying to show you something specific in that moment. And in a lot of the things that I've been reading lately, kind of my understanding is that maybe God isn't supposed to always follow our logic. you know.
Yeah.
And the things of God, which I
So
think includes heaven and hell, aren't supposed to follow our logic all the time. So it's one of those things that's just interesting. I don't
yeah.
know, one way or the other. I definitely need to study it more before I can say anything definitive there. But I can say pretty comfortably, he knows better than I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So it's been a few weeks. So this for both of these, like my mom lived with her mom, lived with my
Okay.
grandma. Anyways, it's been a couple weeks and my mom goes to bed one night and she wakes up and she's in her bed in the middle of the room, except there's no floor. And below her, she can see like fire and brimstone and smoke and hear people screaming. And her bed starts rocking. And so she's like on her bed as it's like rocking back and forth, like essentially trying to buck her off into what seems to be hell. Just like holding on to the bed for dear life and like about to fall off when all of a sudden she spots it. There's a light and it clicks in her brain. She knows, like, I just, if I touch that light, if I reach out to the light, I'm safe. And so she is rocking back and forth and she's reaching out, reaching out, reaching out. And as she touches the light, she wakes up, kind of sitting up in her bed, reaching out towards the window that's like in her room. And that's it. Every once in a while, I get a little heebie-jeebie ish about that one too. So that's the third story. It's just a dream.
You ever have any crazy dreams that stick with you?
So usually they're like pretty cool. Like one time there was like a really sick game of like dodgeball. It was more like capture the flag that like I genuinely I wrote down in my notes. Like the next morning I woke up, I was like, I need to document every single part of this. It's a super intense game of capture the flag, but it's rings. And the way that works is you need to bring the rings back to like this well. You need to take the enemy's rings, drop them in your well. And so at one point, like there's a jailbreak, and I like dodge past some people and like slide under people trying to tag me. And like we've made some friends from people who like I don't know what team they're on, and all I know, like this guy's sprinting at me. I'm like, oh, I hope he wasn't lying to me earlier when he said he was on my team, and he wasn't lying to me. And so we have this whole big moment, coolest dream of my life. And then I've got another like kind of recurring dream we can talk about in just a moment, but I don't want to cut you off if you were about to talk about any dreams that stick with you.
I mean, I love the that's what sticks with you. I've probably told this story on the podcast before, but I can't remember. I think I might have told you about it when we were just talking and said I'll bring it up next week and then forgot to do it. But my sister, pretty quickly after we moved to this newest house, had a dream that there was a hitman who looked
Mm,
very much like Agent 47 who was trying to kill me,
that's so good.
which is just so funny. And so
Yeah.
he's trying to kill me, and he's talking to my mom and sister for some reason about it, and they're just like, "Hey, we'll pay you to not kill him." And he's like, "I already took the money. I gotta do it." And they're like, "But you can just keep the money and go away." And he's like, "I have to do this." And so he goes to shoot me, and then a lion, which is very interesting. A lion comes out of nowhere and turns me into a mouse and then covers me up with his body and gets shot by the hitman, and I survive.
Man, there's something in there.
There definitely is something in there.
It's like you're your own worst enemy.
It's like I am. And Jesus saves me from myself, the Lion
Mm,
of Judah.
Lord.
Which I'm just wondering now, why was Brittany having this dream about me? But
Yeah.
whatever
Maybe
the matter.
maybe it meant more.
Maybe.
And maybe
Maybe.
it's more memorable because she shared it. Because like if it was just a dream that you had in your own brain, give it a week or whatever, and it's gone. Details are gone.
That's fair. And this has been like 6 months.
Yeah.
The other one is when I was a little kid, very little. I was sleeping on the floor in my parents' room because I had pretty frequent nightmares. It was around the time Brittany was just a baby, probably,
Mm-hmm.
and we were all sleeping in my parents' room. And there was a mattress that they would pull out of my room and leave on the floor so that I could sleep on the floor in their room. And I was sleeping in my parents' room, and I was in this big city, and everything was in grayscale. So like everything was black and white and different shades of gray, except, and I was running through the city and it was raining, except there was this group of people, and one of them in the group of people was wearing like a robe that was red. Like it was really just vibrant red against all the grays and the whites and the blacks. And that person was following me through this city, and I thought I was running away, but then I went through an alley, and when I turned around a corner, he was standing there, and he like grabbed me by the shoulders and picked me up and was a vampire and went to bite my neck. And then he was like, "Have you ever seen Scary Godmother?"
No.
Okay, so in Scary Godmother, the main vampire is this very tall guy who's wearing like a reddish colored robe thing. But Scary Godmother came out after I had this dream.
Yeah.
But he's a vampire and he's completely bald and he's got red sunken in eyes. And it was very
Oh.
similar looking to that. But he picked me up, bit me on the neck, and when I woke up, my neck was like cramping up.
Mm.
So, and I have that very distinct memory as a creepy little dream when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
No, I do think I think of a number of dreams where like I'm at a dance and the fire alarm goes off and I realize it's like my alarm, or like I'm just vibing to this weird music and I realize it's my alarm. Especially with phones, right? Because like my alarm is music of some sort. Uh, so I definitely had some of those.
I'm just vibing to
Um,
this weird music and it's my alarm. Like,
uh, but no, I think more than that. Like I kind of have recurring places in my dreams. Not super often, but every once in a while. Like there's a specific like river um, that I come to. I'd guess like once a year, 1.2 times a year in my dreams, like a specific piece of river that I'm at. I had a dream about it like maybe a week ago, and so that's kind of why it's on my mind. Or like there's like a specific piece of road that I'll be driving on sometimes in my dreams, but I don't have a lot of like I feel like I'm pretty good at identifying in my when my dreams are scary. I'm pretty good at identifying like, oh, this is a dream. I'm gonna wake up now. And I'm pretty good at like waking up then. So usually if I'm scared of a dream, it's not like I don't have a lot of scary dreams like I'm being followed or attacked or anything like that. It's usually like, and I wonder what this says psychologically about me, but like it's usually like I'm in a building that's being bombed by like a military attack or something like that.
no, I have a lot of dreams where I'm being chased by something or where there's some kind of a monster or something like that, and I don't have the ability to realize I'm dreaming and wake up. I
Yeah.
like I get lost in those dreams, but the dreams they happen so frequently that I don't remember them all. Is
Yeah.
the thing. I remember waking up in a cold sweat and being terrified to move, but then I just go back to bed and wake up the next day. I'm like, wow, that was weird. The dreams that I have now are I wake like my dreams are me waking up and looking at my phone to see that one of our videos has gotten 1,000 views. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, 12.
Sorry, I've been kind of hankering for a Steam Deck the past couple weeks, past maybe month or so. It's like I don't know if you know, like a portable PC that you can play games on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, because sometimes like it would just be convenient to have in what this season of life is.
Mm.
And I had a dream that I got one. It's like this is awesome, and then I woke up. I feel like I have a lot of dreams where I like they aren't nightmares. My most common nightmare is probably like I'm naked in public, like I'm
Mm.
at school because I am still worried about school or whatever, and I realize that I forgot pants. Not only pants,
Nightmare?
also underwear. Like like I'm doing a crime, like, and I'm like
Yeah.
someone's gonna notice. I'm just gonna hold this door and stand behind it, and they're like, everyone's through the door, you can close it. And I'm like, no. Uh, yeah, and then I would say other than, there was one other kind of dream I was gonna mention.
I have one more if you want to remember that one while I'm saying it.
Deal.
I had a recurring nightmare when I was in daycare when I learned what a jaguar was.
Mm, fast car.
But in my head, I think it was a jaguar. It's either a jaguar or like a cougar or something like that. But I was just told
Hot mom.
it's like a black cat, but bigger. But in my head, when I had this dream, it was like the size of Lola, which is a very tiny cat, by the way,
Yeah,
completely black, but had angel wings.
that's
And
sick.
when I had this dream, it would be coming toward me, and I would be terrified, and I would turn around to see that the Power Rangers were behind me, and they were going to help me fight the cougar.
That's awesome.
And then the cougar would kill them one by one. And
I'm
that was
excited.
my nightmare as a kid.
I'm excited to deal with these nightmares in a few years.
Gosh.
I so my dream that was, not a nightmare at all. The last like nightmare I woke up like from was I've told you about this before. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show. I'm going to do it really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a dream that I married a girl who I like wasn't that into.
Mm.
Good friend of mine from back at Ozark had a dream that I married her and was like, all right, this wasn't what I expected, but that's okay. I'm going to be a good husband. I'm going to keep going to school. Like, we got this. It's going to be awesome. And then all of a sudden, bam, there's a baby in my arm. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is fine. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but that's okay. Like, I'll study, I'll work hard. I'm gonna be the best dad, best husband I can be. That's okay. It'll be okay. And then, bam, baby in the other arm, and I genuinely woke up like because it was terrifying to me. So there's that. Would you like to hear my mom's true crime story?
Yes, let's talk about your mom's true crime story.
Okay, so this one did not happen while she was living with her parents. I assume it was while my parents were married, but before I was born.
Okay.
So this could be anywhere between, I'd say anywhere between 92 and like the end of 95, because I was born very beginning of 96. Sorry, there was like a car noise out there, but it also sounded like a moan,
No,
but
you're
like a
good.
creepy one.
So you've got blackout curtains, and I keep wanting to look over at the screen and be like, "Look behind you," but there's blackout curtains, so it wouldn't work.
Yeah, thank goodness I'm not going to open them either, jerk. Uh, Anyways, so my dad was a truck driver and um he did that a lot before we were born, and then after we were born he didn't do as much. But he was a truck driver and he went solo a lot of times, but he also brought my mom with him sometimes. So he and my mom are out on the road and they are driving along, and I don't know if you how much you know about truck driving, but you're required to stop. I think it's like you can only drive 10 hours in a row, then you have to be off for like 8 or 12 or something like that.
Mm.
Where like you can only drive for so long, and then you have to stop to take a rest, so that we don't have totally sleep deprived truckers on our roads. They still end up on our roads. Like it, you get more money the more you work, and the faster you get places. And the faster you get places, the faster you get home. So like, there's plenty of things that still incentivize them to drive tired,
Yeah.
but they like have continued to make it harder and harder. But the way they track it is with logs. Nowadays they have electronic logs, so it's harder to fake it. Back then it was just paper, so you could say whatever you wanted. Um, but anyways, they stop, they pull off, they're driving through Tennessee. And I don't know where in Tennessee, but they're driving through Tennessee and they stop at a rest area, truck stop, a rest area. So not a gas station, but like a rest area
Yeah.
for trucks, one of those nice ones.
Mhm.
They stop and they get some sleep. So it's the wherever they're at, it's kind of giving off some sketchy vibes. And so my dad says, like, hey, if you want to use the bathroom, like, wake me up, let me know. I'll go with you. We'll go together. And so they're sleeping. My mom wakes up. She realizes she needs to use the bathroom. And so she pushes on my dad, tries to wake him up, and says, hey, I need to use the bathroom. And my dad, dude, would sleep hard. Like, I love my sleep, and I inherited that. Like, I don't know if it's genetic or what. If it is, like, those are all the genes I got, are the ones that sleep hard. And so she tries to wake him up, and he's like, just go use the bathroom. And so she goes in, she like goes to use the bathroom, and as she's walking up, she notices a guy standing there, and maybe they make small talk. Don't know. He just kind of like, I think the way she puts it is like they just kind of smile at each other, and that's that. And so she goes in, goes to use the bathroom, and she does. She's a woman, so it's all stalls, right? There are no urinals, obviously. Uh, and she hears like just a drip, 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 uh, in the background as she's doing her business. Just a persistent drip. And then she goes, washes her hands, and is done. And then walks out. The guy's still standing there, so she assumes that he's like waiting for a wife or whatever. Um, they grin at each other, and then she goes back to the truck, goes back to sleep. The next day, at some point, they're driving along, and they hear over the radio that a dead body has been discovered at this rest area. And so my mom's theory regarding this is that the man that she smiled at and smiled at her had just killed a woman, and the sound she'd heard had been blood dripping. And that, like, had she screamed, like, had she found the body, gone in the wrong stall and found the body, she would have gotten in some major trouble. So, should we try to figure out where this was?
Yeah, let's look and see.
Yeah.
Holy
So I
cow.
did some googling, and I did not find anything that like just really lines up. The closest I can find, and it's tricky because like there are things about truck stops and things about rest areas. Let me try one more search because it wasn't until just now, like talking about it, that I remembered the difference between a truck stop and a rest area. And for anyone that also doesn't remember it, a rest area is a place that doesn't have gas, and like you just go and it's got a bathroom and stuff, and they're usually kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and they're great. And then a truck stop is a place that like it's a big gas station usually.
Mhm.
So I've found stuff about truck stops, but if you look for Tennessee rest area, I'm not going to search for. I'm going to search for body found 1990s. If you search for Tennessee rest area murders, you find
The
a case
Lililid?
called the Llewellyn murders.
Yeah.
I said that as if I was correcting you. I don't know how it's pronounced. Yeah, and so essentially what happened there, and this is not the case. I'm going to list a few things that I know it's not. It's not the Llewellyn murders because what happened there was there's a family of four, husband, wife, two kids. They are coming back from some sort of religious conference. They're in Johnson City. They're headed back home to Nashville. They are Jehovah's Witnesses. Everyone includes that. It doesn't matter a ton. They're coming back from a religious conference. And the husband, fresh off of this religious conference, decides he sees a group of six youths over at the rest area, and he decides, like, I should go share my faith with them. And so he goes and talks to them and shares his faith with them. And then one of them says something along the lines of like, I really hate to do you like this, man, but you're gonna have to come with me, and like pulls a gun out. And the trouble is that the six youths had been on like a cross country crime spree, and so they got the family back into the van, had them drive it somewhere remote, and then with the exception of the youngest, because they didn't actually end up killing him. They tried to. They like executed everyone and then took off with the van. But then because they had done murder, they realized they couldn't keep going to New Orleans like they had intended to, so they went to Mexico instead.
Hmm.
And then pretty quick ended up back on the other side of the border, and 3 life sentences plus 25 years for the attempted murder of the young boy, a piece. So it was not the Lil Ellen murders. Those also happened in 1996. It also happened in 1996, so not likely there. The other one that it's not is there's a guy. It's not a guy named Bruce Mendenhall. When I was searching for it, he came up as a possible option, but both or all of his murders that I found happened within the 2000s. And I don't think there's any way that my mom and dad were like leaving us at home, excuse me, or even like with family while they were going on a long trip. So it's not that guy. But he had a few murders at truck stops in Tennessee. Also, it's crazy like if you look into just the statistics of like truck stop rest area murders like done by truck drivers, they have a very specific target, and it's the kind of people that a lot of serial killers target because it's easy to get them. Like they're the ones who are at truck stops in the middle of nowhere
Mm-hmm.
and like have no ID on them and are easy to make disappear and know that no one will call the cops. So a lot of tragedies in searching for this. What were you gonna say, Gage?
I was gonna say, could it be John Allen Chapman?
Ooh, I don't know if I saw him.
It was the early '90s.
Oh, I did see him at one point. Let me pull it up here. It was a 1994 verdict. The thing I'm looking at. Oh, this is in 1990. Says that she was killed. So I would say so. This was more of a truck stop. I would say there was a chance. I would think it would be a little too early.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that my parents would have gone on a drive together before they were married. There's a non-zero chance of that. Because I see his case happening in 1990, like his murder happening in 1990.
There
Um,
was another one in '92 that
ooh,
they're saying could be connected to him, but it
yeah.
wasn't at a truck stop or a rest area. It was eastbound on I-24 in Monteagle.
hmm No, I saw that one too, where it was like, yeah. I remember googling Monteagle. It's in Tennessee, and there was like a someone that was killed at a truck stop in Monteagle.
Mm.
So it definitely could be John Allen Chapman. And then there actually was a specific serial killer. There's a specific serial killer, which was this is between 81 and 1990. So it could be nothing too called named Doctor No. And the way that they get that name is that there are just multiple uh, sex workers who died after like telling people that they were going to visit a frequent client named Doctor No,
Hmm.
which is like a Bond movie. But yeah, so there's a non-zero chance that could have been that guy, whoever that is, still uncaught. Except there's a page I just pulled up for a podcast episode, Crime Junkie, that says that Doctor No has been captured, and his name is Samuel Legg the Third. So googling that real quick.
Samuel Legg.
Legg with 2 G's.
Okay.
Okay, so a truck driver suspected in a 1992 cold case is Austintown in Tennessee. It's in Ohio. So that's tricky too. Like anyone that you find, also like if they were like a serial killer, they probably kill people in multiple states because they were like truck drivers.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's that. I'd say the most compelling one is that there is a man named Sean Patrick Goebel. Goebel is thought to have killed people in at least 6 states, but specifically, he killed a woman at a service station in Tennessee and then afterwards took her body to Virginia and dumped her. Killed a woman named Brenda K. Hagee. And that was in 1990 something. 1995. January 1995. So I think that there's a non-zero chance, like, at the gas station, kills her, notices my mom coming in, just kind of hangs out, watches. Mom comes and goes. That's that. Guy doesn't want two bodies on his hands, like, to deal with, and then goes on his way. So I think, based on what I found online, and I've tried to find other results because, like, maybe it's an unidentified person or maybe whatever else, right? But I feel like most of the news is you're looking at Sean Patrick Goebel, John Allen Chapman, Dr. No. But yeah, so that's the last story, was this true crime. I could reach out to my mom and she might remember more details. I don't know.
If DJ's able to get more details before tomorrow when I upload this, I'll
Yeah.
put a little edit in here. If he's not, then I'll leave this in here.
Great. Deal.
By the way, let's go ahead and finish this out. Uh,
Yeah. Deuces, y'all.
Before we do that, couple of things that we want to say. First and foremost, thank you for sticking around this far into the episode. And if you didn't stick around this long, then you're not
You're dead.
receiving the thank you, I guess. A big thank you to our friends Adam Ward and Jared Scrowther for the intro and outro music for the podcast, and also just for being good friends. Thank you to everybody who's been able to be a part of this. This episode is the last one that we're recording before we officially hit a year doing this podcast. I mean, we've kind of already hit it, but that's neither here nor there. Whatever the matter, this month is our 1 year month. So it's really exciting that we've been able to do this and to expand in the way that we have, from doing our very bad true crime episodes all the way to doing YouTube videos with true crime in them.
We've arrived.
We've arrived. But thank you for being a part of this journey. Everybody that has, to all the friends who have joined us, to all the friends who have listened, and to all the friends who are to come. It's been a lot of fun. And if you are a friend who hasn't had a chance to join us for an episode, please reach out. We would love to try to make that work out. But yeah, thank you to everybody. Thank you to Orange Cat always for partnering with us. And I do actually have an Apple review to read.
Oh, nice.
It's been a minute since we've read a review, but we have an Apple review from Alexander0017.
Love that.
Do you miss the off-the-wall conversations you and your college buddies used to have every Friday night? No? Well, DJ Gage and company might just stir up some of that nostalgia. And it all stays cat-free, just like your dorm room. 3
Alex
stars.
Worrell Welch. 3 stars out of how many?
5.
Alec Worrell Welch. You scumbag.
To be fair, the first couple episodes were pretty rough.
Did I tell you about his review after the first couple episodes?
I think,
He was like, "Do you guys have an editor?"
yeah.
It's like, we got 2 boys trying their best. And we've got 1 boy who's been getting way better as we've gone along. Huge shout out to Gage. Thank you, Gage. Hey, Alec Welch, how about you come on the show and say something to our face? It's my fault. He reached out to me about scheduling something, and I never got back to him. So
You had a baby the day that we were supposed to record together.
yeah,
Or
so
Angela
that'll
had
do
a
it.
baby the day that
Yeah,
we were supposed to record.
I could have
together.
recorded, really. Anyways, as always, thank you guys. If you don't like it, thank yourselves.